411 Live.
Where you can learn about issues that affect us every day. State of world, 411 Live.
Real people, real talk.
Made to help people in our community in every way. For your girl, 411 Live.
On November 19th, 2022, Tamia and Tim Woods lost their only child to something that they had never heard of before. And you probably have never heard of it either. Hello, everyone. I'm Beverly Taylor, and this is the 411 Live. Real people, real talk. You may not have heard of it, but this is something that you need to know about. The reason? It could save your child. I want to introduce my guests to you and thank them for joining me. Tamia and Tim, and I'll go back and forth with Tim and Timothy, if you don't mind. So what we're talking about is a cybercrime, and it is something I recently heard about it. I think I heard about it before I heard your story, but not that far, long ago. And it is sextortion. This is a crazy word. This is a crazy crime. And for it to happen to your son is something that is devastating, I know. So thank you so much for wanting to share this story. And I mentioned that, people hearing about it, getting this knowledge, could save their child. And that's your mission, right?
Yes, that is 100% our mission, is to make sure that they are equipped with not only the knowledge, be able to regurgitate it to their kids and have a casual conversation about it, but also be able to help their child if they're ever in need.
Okay, so let's just go back, and we're going to kind of talk about this very devastating scenario. Going back to, I guess, November. Well, before we get to that, let's talk about him. Let's talk about him. Because we want to dispel some myths, too. Because he took his life because of this.
Yeah.
And I want to pause right here to say that anyone who is considering suicide or need to talk about this, I really encourage you to call the 988 Lifeline. That's very important. And we will be talking about suicide. So if you're sensitive to that, here's the warning now. But let's talk about him. This young man, James, your only child. And, some of the myths, when we talk about suicide, we think of somebody who's depressed or maybe didn't have many friends, this kind of thing. But this was not his case at all, right?
It was not. He, like you just said, he was the complete opposite. He had a ton of friends. He had a big family. Everybody loved him. He was a person who was always smiling, laughing, and joking. He's known for his sense of humor. He brightened up every room he went into. He was the life of a party. People always wanted him around whenever they had functions or whatever that they were doing or hanging out after school. Hey, James, are you coming? It was normal. Everybody liked him. He was that type of person. He had a magnetic personality.
Yeah.
And even his teachers liked him. These are people old enough to be his parent. And they're like, hey, James, how was your weekend? He used to tell me about conversations he had with different teachers throughout the day. Mm-hmm. It's not normal.
Yeah. He was a good-looking kid, too. Good-looking
kid.
Yeah, thank you. And he was into sports, right?
Yes.
Cross country, I think.
Yes. Cross country, so he ran cross country. He also ran indoor track, 60-meter hurdles, and then outdoor track, 110 hurdles, and the 300 hurdles.
Excellent. Excellent. And this is not a situation where this child was disconnected with mom and dad and family. I mean, you guys had a strong bond.
Yes, we definitely had a strong bond. That was our baby. in every sense of the word. We taught him so much, and we were we were parents that wanted to make sure that not only we had that relationship, but he knew that we had his back no matter what, but also aware of some of the different issues that are around the world and making sure that he was properly equipped to combat against them if he needed it.
Yeah.
But we were close in every sense of the way, and had so many memories, traveled so many places. And we're not ashamed to say that. Like, James was our only child, and he was a little spoiled, a little bit. But you would never know it. If you met James, you would never know it.
Yeah.
And so we just wanted to make sure that we created memories with him. That was always our goal in life, is to guide him down a positive path. But also create precious memories along the way.
I like hearing your story, and you talk about creating those memories. It's because he was the only child. So after a while, going somewhere with mom and dad it's okay, but... And so you guys would invite his friends.
Yes.
And you would just be chaperones, and they would be on adventures.
Yeah, that is 100% true. He... At a young age, he had some cousins that he was really good friends with, and he had a guy or two that he met from school. They were all best friends. They all hung out together. So when we started going on trips, we knew that he's a kid. He don't want to do what we're doing. So we was like, you know what? We should get him his own thing. And that's when it started, when he was about, 4 years old?
It was around that age, and then
it just grew.
Yeah, it just grew. So like, we couldn't afford a whole lot when he first started. I mean, we were broke. Well, I like to say in between blessings,
There
not
you go.
broke.
There you go.
And then
Wait a minute. Poor. We were poor.
we were.
We weren't in between the blessings. We were just poor.
So poor. But I have a big family. And so I live in Columbus, Ohio, and there's a place called the IX Center that's in Cleveland. So my actual family would rent out a whole Greyhound, and we would get on this bus, and we would go to the Greyhound, and at the IX Center, it was an indoor amusement park.
Okay.
And so there, I mean, back then, they used to have lions and tigers, and you can feed the tigers, and you can ride on elephants and all kinds of, sea lions, and you could take pictures with sea lions. And so every year was something different. And that's where we began with the actual traveling, and it was always just $25 at the time, so we could afford it.
Right.
And then as our careers grew, so did our money, of course. And so we started taking James and his friends, and he's been to Washington, D.C., Niagara Falls, South Carolina, North Carolina, Florida a couple of times, Pennsylvania. I mean, we tried to create like so many different wonderful, wonderful memories with him. And we wanted them to see that it's so much more than beyond where you live.
Exposure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So, and we don't get to say it often, but before the boys go back home, we have a rule that we all have to go. I have like a big island and everything in my kitchen, and we all have to cook together.
Oh, neat.
So, so all the boys that come in, I taught them how to make 7-layer dip, buffalo chicken dip, or apple tube and cheesecakes for desserts, macaroni and cheese, fried chicken. We would all like pick a meal and we would cook it together. So it was never like how people say, always on the phone, or we were, a lot of parents, they try to say parents use the phone to help raise their kid, and that wasn't the case with us.
You guys were very involved.
Yes.
Very involved.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Very much so. He had a good childhood.
He did.
And I didn't really help with the cooking that they did.
No, please.
But before we got to that point, You know, we were always playing video games together, and you know,
Now that was your part,
that,
right?
that was my part was more fun.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, the cooking was fun too, but yeah, I don't cook, so I play a lot of video games. I play a
Yeah.
lot of board games. You know, they wanted to play basketball sometimes, so
That was right up
that
your
that was
alley.
that was my
Yeah.
job.
And then, you would take them to the barbershop all
So,
together.
So another thing, you know, we get them all together, and I just say, "All right, guys, get in the Jeep." We throw them in the back of the Jeep. I drive them to the barbershop, my friend Kevin, to cut all their hair off and
Right.
make them look nice and presentable. And then after we were done with them, we take them home and give them back to their moms and dads, and they'll look at them like, "Oh my goodness, you look so good with your hair like that." And, you know, it was,
Yeah.
so
yeah.
they had fun, and their parents got a small break. And then when they saw them, they was like, "Oh my goodness, they took care of you," you know. So, it was,
So we have this background. So like I said, I want to dispel some myths. You know, this guy was from a together family. He knew he was loved, and he knew he had that support system around him. So you know, to me, I would think that it would be hard for you to kind of grasp what happened, knowing that. But now that you have been more educated into how this thing works and how we're talking about a teenager here. So the brain is not as formed as ours, you know, that teenagers are still quite impulsive, you know, and the thinking is not the same as a 26, 35-year-old. It's totally different. So what he had to confront was, I'm sure, mind-boggling for him.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. James had received 200 messages in 19 and a half hours. So I'm not sure if even an adult would be able to really handle a lot of things that we say. I mean, we have a lot of analogies to bring people down to earth to get them to understand what a sextortion victim goes through. And we always tell people, you know, with James, he received 200 messages in 19 and a half hours, and he was being targeted by at least 4 different people.
Oh, wow.
But when you are at a boxing match, you see professional boxers, it's always one-on-one, and they're only for 3 minutes, and then they get a break. And that's a professional.
Yeah.
But we are expecting our youth to be able to fight against 4 adults for 19 and a half hours straight, through sleep deprivation, through all the negative comments within those text messages. And like you said, the frontal lobe is not fully developed. How can anyone overcome that?
Yeah.
And let alone a child? We have to realize that, and we have to understand what these kids are met with online, and also not blame our child for falling victim to a lot of those things. These are professional con artists. They're master manipulators, and they know how to play with our kids' mind,
Right.
to get them to maybe take the bait. So we have a lot of teaching to do and a lot of understanding to be able to make sure that we properly equipped our child. And we tell the kids all the time, they caught James on a bad day. James is extremely strong. He was very independent, and he knew we had his back. But everybody has bad days, right? And we want the kids to know that even on your worst day, we still have your back. And the kids need to hear that. It should never be just assumed, or if you say it once, you know, you need to tell kids over and over and over again. We just have to really, really understand that.
Right. And this came about instantly. I mean, I should say innocently, because kids are on their phones, social media all the time. And then you get this direct message from a young girl. He's a 17-year-old boy, and she's very friendly. So that's how it goes. And as we talk about this, I should also mention, you guys have been privy to his text messages, so you know what transpired and how.
Yeah, Tim seen all of it. I couldn't bear to see all the messages. I saw a good amount, but I don't even think I read half. I couldn't read them.
Yeah. Tim, I want you to hold that thought because when we start, I don't want us to take a break in it.
No problem.
So we're going to take a break now and we're going to come back and we're going to talk about what this sextortion looked like. Stay with us. You're listening to the 411 Live. Real people, real talk.
Some people judge a book by its cover, and if you're not what people are looking for, you're kind of like a reject.
School, it feels like everyone's staring at me and I'm just kind of not really a person.
It just feels hard today. Nobody was listening to me.
And I'll try to understand me more, and I'll try to do the same.
Listening is a form of love. Find ways to support your kids at sounditouttogether.org.
I don't know why you're so sad. You've got a roof over your head.
You gotta stop with that depression stuff.
You alright?
It just feels like it's coming from everywhere.
Do you want to talk about it?
You can talk to me if you're feeling sad.
Whenever you need to talk, I'm here, okay?
Come on, James! Come on, James! Come on, James! Come on, baby! Come on, James! Let's go! Let's go, James! Let's go!
Welcome back to the 411 Live. We are talking about sextortion. And my guests are Tim and Tamia Woods, and we're talking about their son, James, who was a victim of sextortion and took his own life. Tell me, so give me to November, maybe, what is it, the 17th?
So he was first contacted on November 18th of 2022. And it was a normal day for him. He wakes up first thing in the morning to go to school. And he's up all day, he's in school, whatever. He gets out, he's at home, it's the evening time.
Mm-hmm.
He's contacted shortly after 7 p.m. A beautiful woman contacts him on his direct messaging and Instagram. He saw the picture of her. He said, hey, he was intrigued. So he responded to her message. They struck up a conversation. One thing led to another. And eventually he exposed himself. She created a safe space first and exposed herself. And then he exposed himself.
So it was like texting, and then she asked for a video chat.
Correct.
Okay.
So the video chat, because after they got to know each other, they felt comfortable and said, well, let's get on video so we could physically see who we're talking to. And from there, she asked him, hey, would you like to see me, without my clothes? And he said yes. Then she did so. Then after she exposed herself, she asked him, hey, now it's your turn. He said, he thought about it for a minute and said, why not? Then he did. He exposed himself because he thought he was exposing himself to a person that liked him just as much as he liked her. After that, she asked for his phone number, and then that's when all the messages started coming in. She started sending him pictures of himself repeatedly, and she kept telling him how she was going to share him with the world, and she started naming all the different social media sites that she was going to post his picture on. She told him how she was going to ruin his life. And she gave him examples, no, you're going to get kicked out of school. You're going to be not able to get into college. You won't be able to get a job. You will be labeled a pedophile. You're going to go to jail. Your friends won't like you anymore. Your parents won't love you anymore. They told him that we own you. I mean, it was just so many different things that they were telling him. And I say they because, like she said, I read all the messages. And you could tell it was multiple people talking in these messages because like how I'm talking to you, and if we're just texting back and forth, then all of a sudden Tamia takes over. She's not going to use the same words, and you can see the difference.
Different, yeah.
And that's what took place with him for about 19 and a half hours.
19 and a half hours, and that's the big thing, and you were pointing that out, Tamia. Because if this started in the evening, So that means overnight.
Mm-hmm.
He's not getting any sleep.
No sleep at all.
And we're talking 200 messages?
Right. So on top of, so think about it, even taking it a little bit step further, right? So James meets this girl, and she creates a safe space, and then she exposes herself, and then he exposes himself, something that we would like to think he's never done before, right? And then she starts harassing him, and he immediately realizes he made a mistake.
Yeah.
He made a bad decision. Well, then with us, if we make a bad decision, we have time to process it. Well, James didn't have time to process it. So on top of that, on top of now he felt betrayed, he's going with all these emotions. They are attacking him, telling him he's nothing, he's worthless. They have no, they're heartless. They don't mind rotting a life as well as his. They're telling him all of these things on top of him trying to figure out how to get rid of them, how to get himself out of the situation that he felt like he got in. He didn't realize that even though he made that choice of exposing himself, he didn't realize the time that it took for him to turn into that victim. He didn't realize he became a victim.
Yeah.
And so then you are, well, I can't believe I did it, or you're blaming yourself for it. I mean, they created isolation. Like Tim said, you'll be labeled a pedophile. So we have to break all of these things down. When they told him he'll be labeled a pedophile, he's going to jail, then they isolated him and took a barrier for him to not be able to go to the police. So no kid is going to go to the police and say, hey, I did something wrong, I'm going to jail. We know these things are half-truths, right? Because we hear the police saying, or even us as parents, we once said, if you expose yourself, you're going to get in trouble. You will get in trouble for that. You will go to jail for that. And yet they're using that against us now.
Yeah.
So it's so much that he was dealing with on top of him making one mistake.
Right. And, and the whole thing of, talking about, these people won't love you anymore. They basically he's saying they're going to think of you as trash. All of those things hitting him over and over again. And I remember you read some of those text messages, and they are long and detailed of all of the harsh, they're so harsh. It's just incredible. So that happens in the evening. He's dealing with it overnight. You get up the next morning, and he's up.
He is sitting there wide awake. And I didn't know it at the time, because it's the weekend. He's always up at weird hours of the morning, weird hours of the night, because he's playing video games with his friends most of the time. So I didn't think nothing of it. He was eating cereal. He was fully dressed. He had his phone in his hand. Like I said, everything that I always see every weekend. And when I talked to him, I was telling him, hey, you're about to do something good today. You and your mother, you're going to this college fair, and you're picking out a school to go to. You're choosing what you want to do for your higher education. You know what you want to do in the future after you graduate. All these different things that he had already planned. We didn't tell him he had to do these things. We gave him choice to either go to school, get a job, or move out.
Yeah.
He chose to go to school and get an education, and we were happy with that.
So he goes to the college. You take him to the college fair?
Yes.
And that is on the 19th. He's the same old James, bubbly and just I'm excited to be.
Same old James. We got there, so this was an HBCU college fair, okay? Right. So these are like the bands playing and the DJs playing. You have sorority stepping. You have cheerleaders cheering. You have all of that in this one big gymnasium. And so we're just having a good time with the performances. And once that he saw his friends there, his principal was there. So we're all in the group and we're having just a good old solid time. So once that is over, there's a different part. It's a second gymnasium, and all of the alumni or recruiters from over 20 different schools are there to talk to kids. And in my mind, I had to leave him because I'm going to choose that college for him if I stay.
Gotcha.
So I went to brunch with my aunt and my cousin, and I felt comfortable leaving him there because he had his friends, he had his principal there, and I wanted him to truly make a choice that was for him. I didn't want me to choose his future. He had to choose it. And so I gave him the guidance, told him some questions to ask. What can the college do for you? Because 9 times out of 10, he was going to run for that school as well. And so he did. He ended up choosing Howard, Fisk, and Central State. And he was thinking about joining a fraternity. And he followed up with me at 1:28 p.m. And I heard the smile in his voice. I heard that in his voice. And I told him, I'm so proud of him. I said, we'll talk more about it when I get home. And he said, okay, Mom. And I didn't know, going back and reading those messages, the time that during this whole time that he was there at the college fair, they were messaging him, where is my money now? I need my money. And he says, I can't. I'm with my mom right now. And you see the innocence in his voice. You see that, like, I'm priority.
Right.
And they said, we don't care. You get away from her now and you get my money. So as I thought I was being a good mom and trying to guide him into making better, good decisions, they're threatening him and saying, where's my money? Get away from her now and get my money.
And that's something else that I kind of left out because in all of this, putting him down, trying to isolate him, all of those things, they said, we can stop this. We won't expose all of this to everybody if you pay us. Mm-hmm. And they first asked for $1,000? $6,000. $6,000. And here's a kid, no job. He's in school.
Right.
And he says, I don't have that.
His school is his job.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So they got him down to, what, 300?
Yes.
And he said, what, I can do that?
Yes. He when they told him, well, if you pay us $300, we'll make all this go away. He said, okay, no problem. They said, good, give us our money. And he said, well, and he even told them, he can't use his Cash App. So they said, well, get a gift card. He didn't know how to get a gift card. He never bought one before. So they coached him on how to go buy a gift card, then come back, get on video, and show them the numbers so that they could write them down and get that money.
Wow.
After they did that, then they coached him on how to get rid of the card so that my wife or I wouldn't find it.
Wow. Okay. So he gives them 100, and then they say, you need to provide it. You need to get the 200 more.
Yeah. And he said, I can't right now because we also, so 2 rules that we told James, never give anyone your debit card and number, and never Cash App anybody you don't know. So he had to play within those rules. And that's one of the things that I don't know if I regret it. I don't know if that's the right word, but I encourage other parents to use the debit card. That way, myself, because my name was tagged to his checking account, I would have gotten flagged for fraud. But I taught him not to do that.
Yeah.
So he said, well, can you give me till Christmas? Because he knew his birthday was perfect. So his birthday, he was born on July 23rd. And then Christmas was exactly 6 months away. So by him being...
He would give money for Christmas.
Yes, for Christmas. So he was the first great-grandchild on Tim's side, first grandchild on my side. So he always got gifts. It just was, he always got those gifts. So he knew come Christmas, he could get more money. And they was like, no, we want it now. And they got harsher and harsher with their words after that. After he sent that 100, it was like, oh, we got one.
Wow. Okay. So then you come home at what, 6?
I got home about 6, a little after 6:30. And I had saw a light in the house, and she wasn't there. So I figured she just left the light on. So after I got in the house, took care of the dogs, and put my stuff up, I walked to that room where the light was. It was a closed door. I didn't think nothing of it, so I just opened the door. And as I opened the door, I see my son laying there on the floor asleep, which wasn't a red flag again, because I found him sleeping all these different weird places all throughout the house, and the kitchen floor, the hallway, on the stairs. So him sleep in this one particular room, it didn't strike anything.
Didn't phase you, yeah. Mm-hmm.
But when I stepped completely into the room, I could see that he wasn't just sitting there asleep. He was past tense. And I didn't know why. I just had all these questions going through my mind, like what happened to my kid? Who did something to him? Why would he take his own life? All these different questions just bombarded me all at one time, and I didn't have an answer for any of them. So I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to think. I couldn't really say much. I screamed his name a few times, but my legs wouldn't work. I couldn't even walk over to him. I had to drop to my knees and crawl on the floor while shedding all these tears just to hold my kid one last time. Mm. I laid there for probably 2 or 3 minutes, and it clicked in my head like, you know what? Your son is gone. You just found your only child, the only child that you'll ever have, not here anymore. And there's still one more person who needs to know this information. So I pulled out my phone, and I had to call my wife and let her know that the only child that she would ever bear, her baby, isn't here anymore.
Wow. Wow. And then you get that call.
Mm-hmm. I couldn't believe it. We were just laughing, and it just was something I never thought that he would ever do. I don't remember everything that day, but I do remember, like, I stopped the car and, like, I laid out in the middle of the street.
Yeah.
And cars were, like, beeping at me. I couldn't drive home. The police department, I was in another, like, city, basically, and they had to get permission to take me home because I couldn't. And when I got home, I was trying to go to where he was, and the police had stopped me. Like, I couldn't even see him for the first, 4 or 5 hours. I just was crying and begging him to wake up. I didn't know why. What happened? What happened in that short period of time to where my son is no longer here? And somebody had to answer to me, because we did everything that we were supposed to do. We did. You said 2-parent household. We gave him that. You said tell him you love him every day. We did that. Show up for him. We was at every single meet. Like, you cannot tell me where I went wrong and why did he take his own life. I'm in the medical field. I would have noticed something. I mean, heck, I went to therapy myself. So it wasn't that I would have taken him to therapy if I would have seen it. I don't know why my son did this, and somebody had to answer to me, and I wanted answers.
Right.
So
the next day?
Well, actually, the same night after they took him, we gave the police his actual phone because we knew his code. There was no secrets.
Right.
So we gave them the phone, but then we weren't waiting around. Tim and I, we don't wait for people, as you can probably see. We do things. And so Tim had the idea to pull the phone records to see like what exactly, like who was he talking to, if he was talking to anybody that we didn't know. And as we talked earlier, we had all the friends that he really talked to, we have them on group chat. So we knew their phone numbers. And there was one particular number that stood out, and it was a Pennsylvania area code. And we like, he doesn't know anyone from Pennsylvania. So Tim read it off to me, and I called it, and that person answered, and then they hung right up. And they text me and said, I can't talk right now. Who is this? Or I can't talk right now. Text me. And I said, may I ask who this is, please? And they immediately sent me a picture of my son unclothed from the waist down. And then I was like begging, trying to get them to tell me what's wrong. Because at this point in time, I thought that it was a girl from his school or something. You know, like we were familiar with like revenge porn and stuff. So, you know, we heard about that before. So I'm like, what did he do to you? And they were like, we want our money. And then that's when they started asking us for money. And we were like, this is his parents. Please stop. Like, please tell us what to do. And we just didn't want them to know that he was gone yet because we was just trying to figure it out. And they were like, we want our money now. And at first they asked us for $2,000, and then they went down to $200, back to what they said he owed. And when we said, okay, fine. We're like, how do you want us to pay? And then that's when they gave us the Cash App. And so then we took all the information we found, and the next morning, it was like 7
or 8 in the morning.
And we went back to the precinct, and we were like, this is what we found. And then that's when Sergeant Stan had told us, like, your son, that's when they did their investigation on their end. And they were, once we found out they were working with internet crimes against children, they already was working on like different things, and they were properly prepared for this. And that's when they told us that our son was a victim of sextortion. They said, we're going to give you the phone back, but once you receive this phone, just know that what you have access to and what you're about to read is extremely hard. And that is when we read everything, and we tried to do research ourselves on sextortion at the time. And I mean, we had to flip through pages and pages and pages before we even found an article about it. It was nothing out there about it.
But you guys are experts now.
Oh, yeah.
You guys are experts now. And we're out of time, but we're going to continue this conversation because we're going to have a part 2. And the part 2 goes into kind of your personal investigative mode that you guys went through, and teaming up with, the official investigators, and how you took this tragedy, and I mean, like a day or two afterwards, you're at school trying to protect other kids.
Yes.
Which is just amazing to me. And you've been on this mission now for over almost 2 years.
Almost.
So we have so much to talk about. Thank you for part 1. Stay here for part 2. Thank you out there for listening to another episode of the 411 Live. Remember, we're a nonprofit organization. If you want to partner with us, go to our website, the411live.org. We have much more to say on this, and especially if you are a parent, a grandparent, a teacher, you have young people around you. This is something you really, really, really need to pay attention to. So be sure and come back for part 2. Until then, this is Beverly Taylor, and this is the 411 Live. Real people, real talk. If you would like to check out past episodes, there are many ways. Go to your favorite podcast platform. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram. Like and watch us on Facebook.
Watch and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you have suggestions for future episodes, go to our website, the411live.org.